When I was growing up, it was harder for me to just like how to express myself and just talk to others, and just writing poetry is able to let me express myself and have my thoughts.
I changed my way of seeing things. It's for the better, I'm sure. This love that I'm feeling, I feel it more and more.
So, hi, my name is Asela Lee Kemper. I am a poet here at Jackson County. So what led me to becoming a poet, or just poetry in general, was actually just like stemming from my love for music, especially like lyrics. I wanted to be a lyricist when I was like a kid, but then I Googled like how much lyricists make in their career, and I was pretty devastated, long story short. But when I got into college, when I got into community college and took a introductory to poetry, the rest was history. I've been writing poetry since then, and I've been an editor for literary magazines.
When I was growing up, it was harder for me to just like how to express myself and just talk to others, and just writing poetry is able to let me express myself and have my thoughts, and also challenge me in a way to challenge the language as well as how I want to express myself in the way that I've been thinking, or thoughts, as well as like my own experiences in life. So it's really helpful.
So recently I released a micro chapbook called Finally the Mixtape. It was published under Gashing Publishing. It's very exciting because it's a hybrid of audio and poetry. It comes with a CD of me reading my poems, and just like a little insert, a booklet of my poems, so you can read and follow along. And it's very exciting. I released that in the summer. And I've wanted to write a collection that's like focusing on like music, because I've my passion for music, my love for music, and just be able to write poems that are based on the songs that I love, and some of them are my favorites. And yeah, it was in the summer, and I've also been a poetry editor, of course, for Variety Pack magazine, which is an online literary magazine. We just released our 10th issue, which is on take of futurism, which is very exciting. So many great works that were published on that issue. And what else? Oh yeah, I just recently published a poem for Mac 2020, which is edited by my good friend Sofia Aguilar, and just been great. It's for their summer issue. And yeah, I've been working on a debut poetry collection for grad school, and just kept writing poems and editing. So yeah.
So the process, I think for writing wise, it depends on like the writing, and sometimes I know it's tedious to say like if it comes from inspiration, because it depends on the writer. But sometimes if I do get inspiration, I'll write it down. But most of the time, if there's like a subject that I've been thinking about for a very long time, I tend to write down like the title at least, or just like write down some like words that could fit to the poem. And sometimes if I get a prompts are always good to have. So it's like if there's a prompt that I radiate so much to, or I've just like been engaged with, and or just passionate about, then I would write based on that prompt. Or even a theme, like my full collection that I've been working on for grad school. What else in that process? So after that process, of course, you go through the editing, just read it out loud, and it's always good to have like two set of eyes. I look for other folks that I trust, who would read my work, and to see what they think would work better. So yeah, and I think just helping to make sure like just flesh out the context, whatever that poem is, and then after that I submit it to literary magazines, or I put it into my collection. But it's always good to have like really submit it to like literary magazines just for practice. But yeah, and also just submit it to just publishers or presses, small presses is always good too. So
yeah, so I would say for genre wise, I think it depends. I know there's like a lot of like prose, there's been like long poems, short poems. I think right now, because I'm in grad school, I've been playing around with different forms, at least like form wise. I've been really enjoying writing Burning Haibun. Basically, it's like a take on Haibun, which is created by Taryn Greathouse, which is the fantastic poet. And what they did when they created the form was there was a form called Haibun. Basically, it's like a prose poem. You write that out first and then end it with a haiku. So what the Burning Haboon does is still write the prose part of the poem, and then taking that section of the different parts of that prose poem and then do like an erasure poem to create a haiku, which is, I think it's really amazing and honestly like one of the best things that I ever got to chance to write. And I wrote like 2 of them, and it was really great. I was happy to know this, and my mentor Asela Lee, who is fantastic, even complimented that too, so I was really happy about that. I also do like palindrome, which is like just a mirror poem, so you have like a stanza and then they have like a mirrored of it, so just like flip it, have like one stanza and then just flip it into as a second stanza. It's pretty great. But yeah, I've just been playing around different forms and different genres for poetry. I'm not limited to it. I used to be, because I used to be someone who likes to have no form and just free for all, just spitball whatever I say I want to say. But as I got older and the more I got into this practice, and even grad school too, I started to learn that there's a way to flesh it out, and that's okay to cut some things out, just cut the meat of the poem that still works, that still get the message across. So I've been playing around, not limited to anything. At least for favorite poem wise, I don't know if I have a favorite. I do have one that's almost like a beach theme, and it's honestly one of the favorite poems I've written for that I have in a while. I don't have it with me, but it's one of my poems. It's one of those poems where I felt I resonate so much with, and just I think it's going to be part of my collection, obviously. But yeah, it's one of those ones that I felt solace. I think that makes it. I hope that I say it right, but it's like solace. There's just like not peace, but it's just almost like a great way to close one chapter and opening a next one. So I always look at that. So that's been one of my favorite poems as of recently, but I don't have it with me. But there's other poems too. Like one of my favorite poems is actually I've written for a writing challenge I've been doing every February, which is actually coming up next year. It's called Asela Write Whatever Challenge. So I did this to help me practice writing after I graduated from my undergrad, my university, and I haven't been practicing writing. So what I do, I basically just write new poems every February, every day in February. I just write new poems, and just to help me practice, just to keep me practice in the flow without having to feel like I have to write every single day. So I just help me practice that, and that has been helping me for a while. And not like in the beginning when I started it, it was just like no theme, but then recently, because more people are starting to see it and I've been posting on social media, that I started to get like a theme. So one of the poems actually came out of that writing challenge, and it's been one of the poems that I really, it's been one of the ones I close to my heart too. So.
Yeah, so I think the best advice for anyone who wants to write or wants to write, whether it be poetry, fiction, nonfiction, I would say practice makes permanent is the best advice I always say. And it's advice that I got from my choir teacher, which is hilarious. When there's always been the saying like practice makes perfect, but my choir teacher, I believe it was like Miss Copeland, I think it was Miss Copeland who said this, but she said that instead of saying practice makes perfect, you say practice makes permanent, because if you say practice makes perfect, it means if your did is so perfect, you're done. You don't need to think about it anymore. But if you're really serious about this craft, and especially you practice it every day, even if you made the best, greatest thing ever, you're still practicing it constantly because you still want to keep improving and improving. So I always say practice makes permanent. It's always good. And don't be afraid to try different forms, different genres, because you never know. Like sometimes you think you like this one, but instead of you like this, I thought I was gonna write lyrics, or I thought I was gonna write a novel or like fiction novel. That's not to say like it won't happen in the future, but it's not, don't be afraid to try different genres, because you'll find ways to new ways to express yourself. Like I've recently been thinking about writing a script for a movie for a story that I'm really passionate about. I thought it was going to be like a novel in verse, kind of like how Poet X is, but
turns out I wanted to make it into like a movie script in a sense, and not sure if that will ever go into like movie production or whatnot, but it's something that will help you branch out and not limit it to one thing. And I mean, I'm still a poet at the end of the day, but I'm not afraid to try out to different genres or themes or forms. So always don't be afraid to play around, go out and branch out. So don't be afraid. And yeah, if you don't be afraid to read books by authors you really admire and look up to, because it'll help you find your voice just reading, and not to say like critiquing or try to mimic them, but also just learning from your authors. We always say like we have our author ancestors, or we have people we look up to, and they are the best ways to just learn about yourself and your own voice. And those are the best advice I can think of for now. But what it means to be a thriving artist, I feel like I'm still learning that too. I feel like I'm learning that now, but I think it's most so about, when I think of the name thriving artist, I think of just constantly learning. There's always been new challenges and new stuff that's been popping up everywhere you go, no matter what, even though you think you know it, but then all of a sudden something came up. But I think it's just like learning to be just learning new things every day, but also just being kind to others, and come in, not be afraid to be strong, but also it's good to be soft. And I learned this from my friend Liz Flo, that softness can be strength. And I think that I feel like that counts as like for a thriving artist to just come in with just be open and not be embrace like whatever challenges or obstacles, and learning through community, through your craft, through the people who care about, and just learning from your surrounding, learning from everything, and it'll come back to shaping who you are. So this poem is called An Ode to My Femininity. Whispers from friends when they saw Girls' Generation flaunting their pink overalls while singing G sweetly. But even then, when they snapped their fingers, appearing in ballroom gowns and diamond crowns while chanting, "They bring the boys out," my friends rolled their eyes. Too girly. Out of fear of losing my friends, pink used to be my worst enemy. Every girl who wore light pink lip gloss and glitter eyeshadow, we mocked them behind our books and binders. This was how they taught me to be different. I thought this was how I should be a woman. Until I donned myself in pink. Its color blended into my skin. I radiated in its warm shade of coral when I added some blush to my soft cheeks and then twirled in my hot pink prom dress that I begged my mom to buy. Some people might think I lost my edge, but I felt the shade's power. Tiny confetti rained down against my olive skin as I embraced this shade of pink in me.